My husband handed me divorce papers while I was still wearing a hospital bracelet. Not the pretty kind of bracelet people buy for anniversaries. The plastic kind. The kind with your name, your date of birth, and a barcode wrapped around your wrist like proof that your body had become somebody else's emergency. I had been admitted 2 days earlier after what I thought was just dizziness. I was standing in our kitchen, rinsing a coffee mug, when the room tilted sideways. 1 second I was staring at the sink. The next second I was on the floor with broken ceramic beside my hand and my heart beating so fast I could hear it in my ears. At first, the doctors used calm words: dehydration, stress, blood pressure, more tests. Then the calm words stopped. They pulled the curtain almost closed. They spoke in lower voices. A nurse touched my shoulder and told me not to worry, which of course made me worry more. For 2 days, I lay in that hospital bed, trying to act brave. I told myself I was fine. I told myself I had been through worse. I told myself my husband, Derek, would show up soon with flowers, or at least with a clean sweatshirt from home. When he finally walked in, he did not bring flowers. He did not ask how I felt. He did not even look at the IV taped to my hand. He walked in smiling like he was early for a business lunch. Derek had always been handsome in a sharp, careful way. He ironed his shirts until the collars looked almost dangerous. He wore expensive watches he could not afford and shoes he polished more often than he apologized. That day, he wore a navy blazer and the smug expression he saved for moments when he believed he had already won. He stood at the foot of my hospital bed and looked around the room like he was embarrassed to be seen there. Then he said, loud enough for the nurse at the station to glance over, "I filed for divorce." For a moment, I thought the medication had twisted his words. I stared at him, waiting for the real sentence to arrive. It did. "I am taking the house and the car," he added. Then he laughed under his breath and said, "Honestly, you should be grateful I am making this easy." He dropped a manila envelope on my lap. It landed against my blanket with a soft slap. That little sound is still one of the clearest memories of my life. I looked down and saw highlighted lines where he expected me to sign. His own signature was already there. He had marked the pages with sticky tabs, as if I were just another form on his desk, house, car, checking account, savings, furniture. Even my mother's dining room table, the one thing she left me before she died. He had checked boxes like he was choosing options on a takeout menu. I should have screamed. I should have cried. I should have thrown the envelope back at him. But I was too tired and maybe too stunned. So I asked one quiet question. "You are leaving me here?" Derek looked at my hospital bracelet, then at the machines beside me. "You will be fine," he said. "Hospitals fix people." That was his whole goodbye. No kiss on the forehead, no trembling voice, no guilt. He turned and walked out of my room with his phone already in his hand. The nurse came in a minute later. Her name was Carla. I remember because she had written it on the whiteboard, and because she was the first person to look at me like I was human that day. She picked up the envelope from my lap and asked softly, "Do you want me to call someone?" I shook my head. I did not have anyone nearby to call. My mother was gone. My father had remarried and moved to Arizona. Most of my friends were mutual friends, which meant most of them belonged to Derek when it came time to choose sides. Carla pulled the blanket higher over my legs. "You do not have to sign anything," she said. I looked at the highlighted pages and felt something inside me shift. It was not rage. Not yet. It was clarity. Derek thought I was trapped because he had spent years teaching himself to underestimate me. He thought I needed him because I had let him think that. He thought I was broke because I did not brag. He thought my silence meant weakness. That was his first mistake. The second mistake was handing me divorce papers in a hospital room where every nurse, every camera, and every timestamp could prove exactly who he was when he believed nobody important was watching. The third mistake was the biggest one. Derek had no idea I made $130,000 a year. He knew I worked from home. He knew I handled compliance reports for a medical technology company. But in his mind, my job was something soft and small. He called it computer paperwork. He told people I had a little office job. I never corrected him. At first, I did not correct him because I was tired of listening to him make everything a competition. Later, I did not correct him because keeping my real income separate became the one smart thing I did while my marriage slowly rotted around me. I had my own account, my own savings, my own retirement plan, my own credit card, my own emergency fund, and one more thing Derek did not know. 6 months earlier, after he came home drunk and called me a burden because I asked him why our mortgage payment was late, I had hired a lawyer for a private consultation. Not to file for divorce, just to know the truth. The lawyer's name was Priya Patel, and she told me something I never forgot. "You do not have to be ready to leave," she said, "but you should be ready to protect yourself." So I got ready, quietly. I copied documents. I saved statements. I checked credit reports. I photographed receipts. I put my mother's jewelry in a safe deposit box. I changed passwords on accounts Derek did not know existed. I did not know exactly when I would need all of it. Lying in that hospital bed, with his divorce papers on my lap, I realized the answer was now. I was discharged on a Thursday afternoon. Nobody came to pick me up. Carla offered to help me call a rideshare, but I told her I could do it. I said it with a smile because pride is strange. Even when your life is burning down, you still do not want a kind nurse to know you have no one waiting outside. The driver was a man named Luis. He was quiet for most of the ride, which I appreciated. My discharge folder sat on my knees. My hospital bracelet was still on my wrist because I had not been able to bring myself to cut it off. When we pulled onto my street, I knew something was wrong before the car stopped. The porch light was off. The flower pots were gone. The wind chime my mother gave me was missing from the front hook. Inside, the house looked staged for a stranger. Derek's clothes were gone from the closet. His gaming console was gone from the den. His favorite coffee machine was gone from the kitchen counter. He had taken the television from the bedroom and left a perfect rectangle of dust on the dresser. But he had also taken things that were mine. My grandmother's mirror, a box of Christmas ornaments my mother had collected for me year by year, a stack of important mail from the desk drawer, the spare key to my car. I walked from room to room slowly, one hand pressed against the wall because I was still weak. The house was too quiet. That kind of quiet does not feel peaceful. It feels like a warning. Then I saw the note on the kitchen island. It was written on the back of an old grocery list. Do not make this ugly. Sign the papers. You know you cannot win. No name. No apology. Just Derek. I stood there for a long time, staring at those words. Then I cut off the hospital bracelet with kitchen scissors. I did not throw it away. I placed it in a plastic bag with the divorce papers, the note, and my discharge instructions. It was the first piece of evidence in a folder that would eventually ruin him. That night I slept on the couch because the bedroom felt too full of ghosts. I woke up every hour. At 2 a.m, I heard a car slow down outside the house. I held my breath until it moved on. The next morning, I called Ms. Patel. Her assistant put me through when I said my husband had served me divorce papers in the hospital. Ms. Patel listened without interrupting. When I finished, she asked only one thing. Did you sign anything? No. Good, she said. Do not speak to him except in writing. Send me photos of everything. And Lauren. That was my name. Lauren Whittaker. It sounded strange when she said it, like I was still a person with a name and not just a wife being discarded. Yes, he wanted you scared. Do not give him what he came for. So I gave him nothing. Not a call. Not a text. Not one tear he could screenshot and show people as proof that I was unstable. Over the next week, the mystery began to unfold. At first, it was small things. My online banking password did not work. The electric company said my email had been changed. The post office showed a mail forwarding request I never filed. Then the bigger things came. A credit card statement arrived with charges from a resort in Florida. A notice from the dealership said the car payment was 2 months behind. That surprised me because the car was in my name, and the payments came automatically from my separate account. When I called the dealership, the woman in billing hesitated. Mrs. Whittaker, we have a recent request to transfer the vehicle into Mr. Whittaker's business account. I gripped the phone tighter. I did not authorize that. There is a signed form, she said. My stomach turned cold. Email it to me. 10 minutes later, I was staring at my own name written in a way I had never written it. Lauren M. Whittaker. I never used my middle initial. Derek had forged my signature. That was the first hard proof. By noon, I had more. A title company called to confirm the payoff amount for our house because, according to their file, Derek was preparing to refinance and pull out equity. I told them I had not agreed to any refinance. There was a long pause. Then the woman asked, very carefully, "Are you saying your signature on the preliminary documents is not yours?" "Yes," I said. "That is exactly what I am saying." She transferred me to their fraud department. By the end of that call, the house title was flagged. The refinance was frozen. The lender was notified. The county recorder's office was alerted. That was not revenge. That was protection. But from the outside, protection can look a lot like revenge when the person stealing from you expected you to stay quiet. 2 days later, I learned about the bank accounts. Derek had tried to drain a joint savings account we barely used. There was not much in it, only about $6,000, because I had stopped putting real money there long ago. But he had also used that account to connect to 2 credit lines. One was in both our names. The other was not supposed to exist. It had been opened using my social security number. I remember sitting at my kitchen table with my laptop open, looking at the screen until the numbers blurred. $28,000. Charged in less than 4 months. Jewelry store. Luxury hotel. Designer boutique. Airline tickets. A catering deposit. That last one made me frown. Catering deposit? For what? I found out that Saturday. A mutual friend named Erin called. She had been more Derek's friend than mine, but she was not cruel. She sounded nervous when I answered. "Lauren, I do not know if I should tell you this." My chest tightened. "Then you probably should." She sighed. "Derek got married today." I looked out the kitchen window at the yard I had mowed alone for years. "Today?" "Yes, in Savannah." Big venue, white roses everywhere. I saw pictures online, I thought you knew. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because the human body does odd things when pain becomes too much to hold in one shape. Derek had handed me divorce papers in a hospital bed, moved out before I was discharged, forged my signature, tried to take my car and house, and then remarried before our divorce was even final. He had not just betrayed me. He had built a celebration with stolen pieces of my life. I thanked Aaron and hung up. Then I looked up the venue. There they were. Derek and Madison. That was her name, Madison Cole. Blonde hair, bright smile. 2 kids from a previous marriage standing beside her in navy suits. Derek held her waist like he was a man who had finally become what he pretended to be. Rich, stable, successful. Behind them were white roses, gold chairs, and a cake so tall it looked like architecture. I zoomed in on his watch. It was new. I zoomed in on her ring. Also new. Then I saved every photo before he could delete them. People think revenge starts with screaming. Mine started with spreadsheets. I made one for dates, one for charges, one for accounts, one for documents that had my forged signature. I scanned everything into folders named so plainly that no one could misunderstand them. Fraudulent car transfer, unauthorized credit line, hospital service date, divorce papers, mail forwarding request, refinance attempt, wedding expenses. Every time I wanted to break something, I added another file. Every time I wanted to text Derek and ask how he could be so cruel, I called another institution instead. The bank, the dealership, the credit card company, the title company, the county clerk, the police non-emergency line. Ms. Patel helped me file for temporary orders in family court. She also helped me file identity theft reports. The court froze major marital assets until the judge could review what Derek had done. The bank froze the accounts connected to the disputed credit lines. The dealership stopped the vehicle transfer. The title company refused to move forward with any refinance until both owners appeared in person with identification. Derek did not know any of this right away. At least, I do not think he did. For almost 3 weeks, he acted like a man enjoying his victory. He posted photos from Savannah. He posted a caption about new beginnings. He posted a picture of Madison's children at a hotel pool with the words, "Family is what you choose." I did not comment. I did not react. I did not even block him. I wanted to see what he posted because people like Derek tell on themselves when they feel untouchable. Then, 3 days after his wedding, at exactly 11:23 p.m., my phone lit up with his name. I was sitting in my new apartment by then. Yes, my new apartment. I had left the house 2 days after I learned about the refinance attempt. Not because he had won it, but because I no longer felt safe there. Ms. Patel told me leaving temporarily did not mean surrendering my rights, especially with court filings already in motion. So I found a quiet one-bedroom apartment across town. Nothing fancy. Beige walls, old elevator, a balcony just big enough for one chair and one plant. But it was mine. No footsteps in the hall that made my stomach tighten. No credit card bills hidden under magazines. No man telling me I was too sensitive while he sharpened the knife behind his back. That night, I was drinking peppermint tea and reviewing documents when Derek called. I watched his name flash on the screen. I almost ignored it, almost. Then I answered and said nothing. For once, he spoke first. "Lauren?" His voice was Diffrager. No laughter, just panic. "Lauren, what did you do?" In the background, I heard a woman crying. "Madison." A child asked, "Mom, what is wrong?" Derek moved away from the noise and lowered his voice. "The bank froze my accounts. My card declined at the hotel. The mortgage payment failed. The dealership called me about fraud. What did you do?" I took a slow breath. I told the truth. "No," he snapped. "No, you did something. You made calls. You filed things. You are trying to ruin my life. You forged my signature. That is dramatic. You opened credit in my name. We were married. You tried to refinance our house without me. Our house." He laughed once, but it cracked in the middle. "Now it is our house? You were supposed to sign it over." "I did not. Because you are bitter." That word almost got through. Bitter. Men like Derek love that word. It turns your pain into a personality flaw. It turns their cruelty into your problem. I stood and walked to the balcony door. Outside, the city lights blurred in the summer heat. "You left me in a hospital bed," I said. "You were not dying. You did not know that?" Silence. For the first time, he had no quick answer. Then he said softer, "My wife is freaking out. Her kids are here. We cannot be homeless." Homeless. The exact future he had planned for me. Not by accident, not as a side effect. On purpose. He had put those papers in my lap while I was weak and scared because he wanted me to believe I had no choice. I looked at my hospital bracelet sealed in the evidence bag on my desk. "You should call your lawyer," I said. "I cannot pay a lawyer if you freeze everything. Then call the one who helped you draft those papers." He cursed under his breath. "Lauren, listen to me." Madison did not know. That made me pause. I heard her crying again. This time it sounded closer. "Derek," she said in the background. "What does she mean by forged?" He covered the phone, but I still heard him. "Go sit with the kids." I closed my eyes. There it was. The twist I had not expected. Madison was not his partner in the theft. She was his next victim. That did not make her innocent in every way. She had married a man who was still legally tied to me, and I had questions about what she believed. But the fear in her voice was real. I knew that fear. I had lived with it for years. Put her on the phone, I said. Absolutely not. Then I have nothing else to say. Lauren, please? That word from his mouth should have satisfied me. Please, I had waited years to hear him sound small, but it did not feel like I thought it would. It did not heal me. It did not give back the nights I spent lying awake beside him while he slept peacefully after destroying my confidence one sentence at a time. So I hung up. 2 minutes later, an unknown number called. I answered. A woman's voice whispered, "Is this Lauren?" "Wes, this is Madison. I am sorry. I do not know what is happening, but I need to know if my children are in danger." That sentence changed everything. Not because I forgave her, not because I forgot the wedding photos, but because I had promised myself that Derek's cruelty would end with me. So I told her the truth. Not all of it, not every private detail, but enough. I told her our divorce was not final. I told her I had not signed away the house or car. I told her there were disputed credit accounts and possible forged signatures. I told her to protect her money, check her credit, and speak to her own attorney without Derek in the room. She cried quietly. Then she said, "He told me you were unstable. He said you refused to work and lived off him. He said the house was his before you married." I almost smiled. There was the story he had sold, a helpless ex-wife, a generous man, a fresh start. Madison. I said, "I make more money than Derek ever has," as she went silent. Then she whispered, "Oh my God!" Court was scheduled for 3 weeks later. Those 3 weeks felt longer than my whole marriage. Derek changed tactics every few days. First came the anger. He sent emails in all capital letters accusing me of destroying his reputation. Miss Paddle told me not to respond. Then came the charm. He wrote that maybe we had both made mistakes, maybe the hospital had been emotional for everyone, maybe we could sit down like adults. I forwarded the email to Ms. Patel. Then came the pity. He said Madison's children were crying. He said he could lose his job. He said everybody was turning against him. Then came the threat. "You have no idea what I can prove about you." That one I printed and put in the folder. Every email became evidence. Every voicemail became a file. Every lie became easier to track because Derek was too angry to be careful. By then, Ms. Patel had brought in a forensic accountant named Mr. Alvarez. He was small, quiet, and terrifyingly calm. He looked at bank statements the way a surgeon looks at an X-ray. After 2 days with the records, he called me. "Your husband did not just overspend," he said. "He created a pattern." I sat down. "What kind of pattern?" "He moved money through the joint account to make it look like both of you approved it. He used your information to support credit applications. He represented assets as his alone when they were not. Directly disputed, I see about $46,000. Potential exposure may be higher. $46,000. The number made my hands go cold. Derek had not made one desperate mistake. He had studied my silence and built a crime inside it. The day before court, Madison called me again, but I answered because of her children. "I left the hotel," she said. "I took the kids to my sister's house." "Derek is furious? He says I betrayed him." "That is what he calls it when someone stops obeying," I said. She let out a sad breath. "I checked my credit. He tried to add himself to one of my cards. There was a pending request. I canceled it. I closed my eyes. There it was again. The next door opening. The next woman standing at the edge of the same trap. 'I am glad you checked,' I said. Madison was quiet. Then she said, 'I know you do not owe me anything, but I am sorry.' I believed him. I wanted to say her apology meant nothing. Part of me still believes that would have been fair. But maturity is not pretending you are not angry. Maturity is deciding what your anger is allowed to control. So I said, 'Thank you. Protect your kids.' The courthouse on Monday morning smelled like floor wax and burnt coffee. I wore a gray suit, low heels, and my mother's pearl earrings. I did not wear my wedding ring. The pale mark on my finger showed anyway. Miss Patel met me outside courtroom 4B, the leather folder in her hand. "You ready?" she asked. "No, good," she said. Ready is overrated. Prepared is better. Derek was already inside. His hair was too perfect, his tie was crooked, and his eyes were tired. When he saw me, his mouth tightened. For 1 second, I saw the old reflex rise in him. Control her, shame her, make her smaller. Then he saw Ms. Patel beside me, and the reflex died. His lawyer tried to frame everything as a misunderstanding between spouses. He said Derek had been stressed. He said the divorce papers were preliminary. He said finances often get tangled in marriage. He said I had overreacted by contacting banks, lenders, and title companies. Then Ms. Patel stood. She did not raise her voice. She did not perform outrage. She simply opened the folder. "Your Honor," she said, "my client was served with divorce papers while hospitalized for a medical emergency. Since then, we have documented multiple attempts by Mr. Whitaker to transfer, refinance, or encumber property without her consent. We have also documented suspected identity theft and forged signatures." The judge looked over his glasses. Forged signatures. And Ms. Patel handed over the first exhibit. My real signature. The dealership form. The credit application. The refinance document. Side by side, the difference was obvious. Then she submitted the discharge record, the time-stamped photo of the envelope on my hospital blanket, and the copy of the divorce papers Derek had dropped in my lap. Finally, she submitted my hospital bracelet, sealed in the evidence bag. The judge looked at it for a long moment. I did not know a plastic bracelet could make a courtroom so quiet. Derek's lawyer objected, saying it was too emotional. The judge said, overruled. Context matters. Those two words almost broke me. Context matters. After years of Derek telling stories with the middle missing, someone with authority wanted the whole truth. Then came the twist Derek did not see coming. Ms. Patel called Madison as a witness. Derek's head snapped toward the back of the courtroom. Madison walked in wearing a simple black dress and no wedding ring. She testified that Derek told her he was already divorced. She testified that he said the house belonged only to him. She testified that he claimed I did not work and had refused to leave. She testified that he used the frozen accounts to pay wedding expenses and told vendors a refinance would cover the rest. Then she testified that after the freeze, he pressured her to use her savings to cover his debts. The judge's face did not change, but his pen stopped moving. That was when I knew Derek was done. Not because the court hated him, because the pattern was finally visible. He had tried to make me look like an obstacle. Instead, he had shown everyone exactly what he was. Justice does not arrive like thunder. Mine arrived in orders, signatures, stamped copies, and quiet instructions from a judge who had seen enough. The court gave me temporary exclusive control of the house, even though I chose not to move back right away. The judge blocked Derek from selling, refinancing, transferring, or borrowing against the property. He ordered Derek to return the car key, the missing documents, and every personal item he had taken from the house that belonged to me. He ordered a full financial disclosure. He ordered Derek to cooperate with the fraud investigations. He ordered him to stop contacting me directly. Derek stood before his lawyer could stop him. "Your Honor, she is doing this to humiliate me." The judge looked at him for a long second. "Mr. Whittaker, based on what I have seen today, you handled humiliation on your own." I looked down at my hands because I did not trust my face. But the real ending did not happen that day. Real justice took months. That is the part people do not like in stories. They want the villain destroyed by dinner. They want the woman who was hurt to walk out of court rich, glowing, and fully healed. Life is messier than that. I still had panic attacks when unknown numbers called. I still woke up angry enough to shake. I still found myself apologizing to empty rooms. Healing did not erase the betrayal. It taught me how to carry it without letting it drive. The bank reversed the fraudulent credit line after reviewing the reports. The dealership cleared my account and confirmed the transfer request had been unauthorized. The title company permanently killed the refinance. The court separated the marital debts from the debts Derek had created through fraud. Derek lost his job after the financial mess reached his employer. I did not call them. I did not need to. Consequences travel when people hand them the right address. His new marriage ended before my divorce was final. Madison filed for an annulment and moved with her children to her sister's town. She sent me one email after everything settled. It said, "I know saying sorry does not fix what happened, but you telling me the truth protected my kids. I will never forget that." I read it twice. Then I archived it. Some doors do not need to stay open just because peace walked through them once. As for Derek, he kept trying to turn himself into the victim. He told people I ruined him out of jealousy. He told people I hid money from him. He told people Madison and I teamed up because women love drama. But his audience had changed. The same friends who once asked if I was okay began asking if what they heard was true. I stopped explaining myself to people who only wanted the story after it became entertaining. In the final settlement, I kept the house. Not because I wanted to live there forever, but because it was mine to decide. I kept my car. I kept my retirement. I kept my separate savings. Derek took responsibility for the fraudulent debts assigned to him. He had to repay money connected to the unauthorized accounts. He had to pay part of my attorney's fees. He had to sign away any claim to my mother's furniture and jewelry. There was also a criminal case. I will not pretend it ended like television. He did not get dragged away in handcuffs while I stood in slow motion under courthouse lights. He took a plea on reduced charges. He got probation, restitution, community service, and a record that followed him into every job interview after that. Some people thought that was not enough. Some days, I agreed with them. But then I remembered something Miss Patel told me. "The goal is not to make him suffer forever," she said. "The goal is to make sure he cannot keep using your life as his hiding place." That stayed with me, because the real revenge was not the phone call where he panicked. It was not Madison walking into court. It was not the judge's comment or the frozen accounts. The real revenge was the morning I unlocked the house after the settlement and felt nothing. No fear, no longing. No need to prove I had won. Just quiet. The house smelled stale from being empty. Dust floated in the sunlight. The living room looked smaller than I remembered. In the kitchen, I found the notepad where Derek had written his last message to me. The original note was already in evidence, but the pressure of his pen had left the words on the page beneath it. Do not make this ugly. Sign the papers. You know you cannot win. I ran my fingers over the marks. Then I tore off the page and threw it away. I sold the house 6 months later. A young couple bought it. They had a baby girl and a golden retriever that kept slipping its leash during the inspection. The wife apologized every time the dog ran through the hallway. I told her not to worry. A house should have noise in it. A house should have laughter. A house should not feel like a courtroom with a roof. With the money from the sale, I paid my legal bills, rebuilt my savings, and bought a small townhouse with a blue front door. The blue door mattered to me. Maybe because after years inside someone else's shadow, I wanted to come home to a color that looked like sky. On the first night in the townhouse, I ordered Thai food, sat on the living room floor, and ate straight from the container. There was no couch yet. No television, no dining table. Just me, a paper lantern from the hardware store, and silence that finally felt like peace. That night, an email from Derek appeared in my inbox. The subject line said, "Can we talk?" I opened it. He wrote that things had gotten out of hand. He wrote that he had been thinking about me. He wrote that maybe he deserved some of what happened, but not all of it. He ended by saying he hoped I remembered there had been good times too. There had been good times. That was the cruelest part. People want monsters to be monsters every minute. They are not. Sometimes they are charming. Sometimes they are helpful. Sometimes they remember how you take your coffee. That is why leaving them hurts. You are not only leaving the pain. You are leaving the version of them you kept hoping would come back. I closed the email without replying. Then I blocked him. Not because I hated him, because I no longer needed access to the person who almost convinced me I was powerless. A year after the hospital, I took the plastic bracelet out of my desk drawer. It had yellowed slightly. My name was still readable. Lauren Whittaker. The old last name felt like a coat I had finally stopped wearing. I had changed my name back to Lauren Hayes by then. My mother's name. The name I had before I mistook being chosen for being safe. I placed the bracelet in a small wooden box with the final divorce decree and the first key to my blue front door. Not because I wanted to live in the past. Because I wanted proof of the truth. Derek walked into that hospital room thinking he was ending my life. He was wrong. He was only ending the part of it where I begged to be valued by someone who benefited from my silence. These days, when people ask me if I got revenge, I tell them yes, but not the kind they expect. I did not burn his clothes. I did not slash his tires. I did not scream outside his office. I told the truth in rooms where lies cost money. I signed my own lease. I protected my name. I kept what was mine. I opened a blue front door and built a life so peaceful that his absence became the least interesting thing about it. The last time I saw Derek, outside the courthouse after everything was final, he looked at me like he was waiting for me to say something bitter. I did not. I just smiled, walked past him, and went home. He thought my hospital bracelet made me weak. He never understood it was the last thing I wore before I became free.